I've barely even started filming this video and I'm already hot. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new around here, hello, welcome, my name is Charlotte. So for today's video, I thought I'd actually do a recommendation video because those sort of videos are quite popular to do on BookTube because, you know, with BookTube we like to recommend books. So I got this idea when I was rewatching a favourite show of mine, and that favourite show has a found family trope, which is one of my favourite tropes across all media. So today I thought I'd give you some found family recommendations. And because I want to make this channel not just books, but predominantly books, but also talk about films and TV shows and stuff like that, I thought I'd give you 3 book recommendations, 3 TV show recommendations, and 3 film recommendations. I've made a list of 3 books, 3 TV shows, and 3 films that all include the found family trope. All of them are quite different. All of them are different in terms of the main character situations and how they get into the found family trope, but I just love the found family trope. So we're going to dive straight in, and I'm just going to have a lot of fun doing this. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is a very obvious one, but it's one that just came to my mind straight away, and it's been very relevant at the moment, and it's been in my mind a lot at the moment, and that is Six of Crows. Of course I had to put this book on this list. This has such a strong found family trope because we follow 6 people who are going on this heist, and they all come from very different troubled backgrounds. Before they meet each other, they're all by themselves trying to fend for themselves. They all kind of come together to form the Crows, to form this amazing group, and even though they all are quite guarded and quite reserved, they're still very much a family and they still very much care for each other. I just love them, and I really need to reread this book before the show comes out, or hopefully before the show comes out. I think with everything that's going on with the show, with the photos and the trailer, my mind is just shadow and bone, Six of Crows, all these characters all the time. So I really want to try and read it before the show comes out and just get back with these characters and love these characters just as much as I know I love these characters. When I did read this book a few years ago, I just remember just loving them as a family collective, as a found family collective, and being like, they are always going to be there for each other no matter what. They put themselves in all these sticky situations, but then at the end of the day, they've got each other's backs, and that's why I love them. So the first TV show I'm going to talk about is the TV show that made me think of this video, gave me the idea for this video, and that is It's a Sin. I'm currently rewatching this with some friends who haven't seen it before. I just love this show so much. I think you should know because I talked about it in my January wrap-up. So this show is set in England, and it's set in the 1980s to kind of the 1990s, and it follows a load of gay guys and this girl as they kind of live together and they go about their young adult life, being gay and celebrating being gay, but also having to deal and being surrounded by the HIV crisis in the 80s. And it's just the greatest show. I love it so much. It's so emotional, but just so good. Obviously it's so good because it's Russell T Davies written. When I was rewatching the first episode of My Friends, I was just getting so emotional watching them become this family who literally love and care for each other so much, even within the first episode. My favourite scene within the first episode, or one of my favourite scenes in the first episode, is when they've all ended up coming to live together, and you just see one of their mornings together of them just seamlessly working together and being so happy together and being so comfortable with each other. They interact and they move around each other so comfortably, and it was just the most beautiful thing ever, seeing these queer people just being so comfortable and having this queer safe space and having this queer found family. It just makes my heart so happy seeing these queer people, especially in a time that was like so hard for queer people, just being so comfortable, and I love it so much. So I found it a little bit harder to come up with the films, but I came up with a few which are all quite similar films, but then also are quite teen films. And these ones are a lot more fun films. They're anything too emotional apart from the first one, but I still see some sort of a found family trope within these films. So the first one is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Obviously I could talk about the book, but I thought I'd talk about the film because I feel like I know the film better. If you do not know The Perks of Being a Wallflower, it follows our main character Charlie as he's kind of going to high school, feeling very lonely, and we know that he deals with mental health issues, and he writes a diary to this anonymous person, kind of to us, and he makes friends with some older students within the school, and in a sense they become his found family. They become such a strong friendship group for him, and I see it's a found family. And you also see what these other older characters have gone through and how they've become a found family and how this found family is so important to them. And I think the main reason why I love this film and this book is how close everybody is, and how even if it could be classified as a friendship group, it just seems like such a found family dynamic between them, and I just love this film so much. It's a film that will constantly make me emotional and I'll constantly come back to, and it's just one of the best adaptations ever, I think. I've always just found a way to connect with all of the characters and just love how they've all come together and are such a strong unit despite all their struggles outside of their family. They talk about them, they kind of help each other. I just love them. I love them so much. And as I said, the films are a little bit looser with their recommendations, but I still feel like it has some sort of element of a found family. So the next book I'm going to be recommending, it's actually my favourite book of 2020. I love this book so much, and the found family element is just chef kiss. And again, you could be like, oh, it's just a friendship, but I do in a sense see it's a found family thing, and that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. So this is a dark academia book, and it is set in America, follows these bunch of like Shakespeare actor students, and then one night one of them dies, and there's a kind of murder mystery thing of who did it, what happened. But you also, for the majority of this book, just to get to follow their dynamic as friends, because they've been through like 4 years or nearly 4 years of college together, being really close because they're drama acting students, and they have such a complex yet loving yet toxic yet powerful dynamic between all of them and kind of bond. And I would say it's a found family because most of them don't have the best relationship with their normal family. So when they're at university, when they're at college, which is the majority of the year, it's their time to escape from their real family and come back to their found family. And even though some of them have very toxic dynamics and they don't always get on and they fight a lot, at the end of the day they do really love each other and do really care for each other. That was the main reason why I love this book. I love the dynamic and the relationship between these characters. And when I was scrolling through some of my books to find books for this video, I saw this book and was like, of course, this is such a found family trope, and I just love it so much. Seeing these characters interact, seeing these characters just fight and love and be human, and I just love it so much. So the next TV show that I'm going to talk about is very much like It's a Sin. Set in this kind of same sort of era, it is about queer characters, and it's having its final season soon, and I just can't believe it's going to come to an end because it's been one of my favourite shows of the past few years, and it's just so beautiful, so beautiful, and that is Pose. Every time I watch an episode I just feel so good, I get emotional, it is just amazing. So this once again is set in the 1980s and going into the 1990s, but it is set in New York and it is set amongst the ballroom scene within the queer community. If you don't know what the ballroom community, the ballroom scene is, it was a safe space for a lot of queer people and a lot of queer people of colour, where houses would compete in this competition with different categories to be like who's the best house. You have the mother of the house, which is kind of quite akin to It's a Sin, because Jill in It's a Sin you could see as the mother of the house. Pose is just so amazing because obviously it deals with a lot. It deals with all the struggles that not only queer people but queer people of colour and trans people of colour went through in those times and still go through now. It is just such a beautiful, powerful show, and the majority of the cast are queer trans people of colour. I just love all of them so much. I've loved seeing these characters progress and develop and become the people that they deserve to become, and it just celebrates queer people and queer people of colour. We would have nothing as queer people, we would have nothing if it wasn't for queer people of colour. And during that time, obviously a lot of queer people and a lot of queer people of colour were shut out and thrown out of their house for being queer. So in that time, as I said, houses were being made where you have a more older senior, not saying senior as in like 80-year-old, but you'd have an older queer woman being the mother of the house and looking after her children who were like younger teen queer people of colour or queer people. And it's just so amazing seeing these people who are going through such hard things but just being such a great family and thriving. And quite like It's a Sin, it deals with a lot of different topics like HIV and AIDS, the attacks and the abuse and the murder of trans people of colour, which is still happening today, and just so much other stuff like people's attitudes toward queer people or queer people of colour. And I'm just so sad it's ending because I could just have episodes forever of these characters and of this show because they're all just fabulous. So the next film that I'm going to be talking about is one of my favourite childhood films and favourite childhood series, and it still is one of my favourite films, favourite childhood series films, whatever. I just love the found family aspect of this because it takes place in a situation that I was in as a kid, and that is Centrinians. Look, as I said, don't take these film recommendations too seriously. Don't expect like Oscar-winning films. If you don't know what Centrinians is, you're probably not British. Centrinians is a girls' school, a girls' boarding school. It's a very delinquent, rowdy girls' boarding school. So instead of them doing normal lessons, they'll learn how to blow stuff up and do heists and learn how to get out of criminal situations and stuff like that. And in the first film we watch as Annabelle Fritton, who is the niece of the head, Miss Fritton. Annabelle's a very goody two-shoes, very reserved, very proper, very button up that blazer sort of girl. But when she joins Centrinians, she ends up becoming part of their family because Centrinians is such a family school. And basically the plot of the film is that the school's running out of money and they basically have to pull off a heist to get some money for the school. What I really loved as a kid, and I still love it now, is watching all these girls be such a family. I think that's what I wanted at my girls' school. Obviously it's a bit different because they were at a boarding school and I didn't go to a boarding school, but watching these girls just become such a family and become such a chaotic, crazy family, even though in these films they actively put in the different sort of cliques. So you have the chavs, you have the geeks, you have the posh totties, you have the eco-freakos, you've got all these different groups and they do fight, but at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, they're all one big family and they all look out for each other and they all love each other. I just want to be a Centrinian. Is that too much to ask? So the final book that I'm going to be recommending to you is Nevermore, The Tales of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is probably my favourite middle grade series, and it follows our main character Morrigan, and she is destined to die on her 11th birthday because she's a cursed child. When her 11th birthday comes, this mystery man called Jupiter North whisks her off to the city of Nevermore and helps to get her into the Wanderer Society. I think this is a trilogy. I haven't read the final book yet, but the first two books are just chef kiss. What I love about this series is at its core, it is the found family trope, because Morrigan's father and her family back at home are just hate her. They see her as his cursed child, so they don't care about her. So she doesn't really have a family. She is almost orphaned. So she gets taken off to the city of Nevermore, where she finds her family. She lives in this massive hotel where she finds her family within Jupiter, and loads of people were staying there. And it's just so sweet seeing this girl who was so terrified of being her when she was with her family, because she was like, oh, I'm cursed, I'm gonna die, to being this bright, smart, amazing young girl who has a family who love her and care about her. And I just love it so much, and I need to read the final book, but I'm waiting for it to come out on paperback because I have my other ones in paperback. I just love this series so much. It's so whimsical and so magical and so sweet, and just the found family trope is just chef kiss in here. It's so good, you almost forget that it is in here, because you sometimes forget, especially if you get further into the series, you do sometimes forget that she had a family before she came to this and that her family hated her, and you always just see this family that she's made at the hotel as her normal family. So the final TV show that I'm going to be talking about is very different from the other TV shows that I was talking about, and that is Criminal Minds. I once again was scrolling through the internet for inspiration for my final TV show, and when I saw this I was like, hell yes. So Criminal Minds is probably one of the longest running crime sort of TV shows in America. I love it so much because I love like FBI, crime, murder, serial killer sort of shows, but it takes place within the fictional unit of the BAU within the FBI, which is the Behavioural Analysis Unit, which is basically the Behavioural Science Unit, the BSU. You know, the one, the actual real one within the FBI, and it's just quite like CSI, where this team goes off and investigates murders each episode. But because this show has gone on for so long, the found family trope in this is just chef kiss, because some of the characters have been there since day one, and even if some of the characters who are there at the end weren't there from day one, they're still this amazing found family because they spend a lot of time together. It is hard for them to spend a lot of time with their normal family, even if they might love their normal family and have normal family, because they're off across the country trying to solve murders. You just watch these characters as they become so close and they develop different relationships and different friendships, and they're just so great. I love the Criminal Minds characters and the family that they've created, and it's always a show that I will rewatch because it's just such a comfort to me, even though it's literally about murders. But I just love kind of going back to really early seasons and seeing some of the characters as they were like years ago. But I think with any sort of like crime, police, FBI sort of show, there's going to be a found family aspect to it, because as I said, they spend the majority of their time with these people trying to solve these murders. So the final film and the final recommendation I'm going to be giving to you in this video is Pitch Perfect. As I said, do not take these recommendations too seriously. I feel like we all know Pitch Perfect. When it came out in 2012, it was a hit. It was just the greatest thing we'd ever seen. And even, not gonna lie, Pitch Perfect 2 is a banger of the film. Pitch Perfect 3, not so good. But if you do not know what Pitch Perfect is, please go watch it. Amazing. It's set in a college in America, as we follow our main character Becca as she's kind of joined this college, and her dad works there, so she's kind of being able to get like a discounted prize scholarship sort of thing. But she doesn't really want to be there. She wants to actually kind of move to LA and become a DJ, but her dad kind of encouraged her to make friends and maybe join some societies, and she ends up kind of spontaneously joining the female a cappella group called the Barden Bellas. It's about them competing to become national champions at this kind of like a cappella competition. But once again, it's a female found family story of these girls who are completely different, all come from different backgrounds, all just different in general, as they come together to be this amazing a cappella group and to change and to develop and grow, and it's just so good. I'm talking about it as if it's like a deep drama when it's literally a comedy. Why I love this film so much and why I will continue to at least love the first one is that it holds so many memories. I think we all remember when that film came out, and then we were all at school being like, I bought my ticket for the long way. Give me a second, I'm gonna find something. Do the cup song on. I found a thing of small dry shampoo. I've probably just annoyed my parents doing that. But this film just has brought so many iconic moments and so many iconic quotes to my life, and once again, because it's like a female found family thing, it kind of resonates with me as I went to an all-girls school. I know this is obviously like college and this is university. As I first saw it when I went to an all-girls school, it just resonated with me a lot. So that is it for my found family trope recommendation video. I hope you enjoyed it, because I rarely do recommendation videos, so I hope it went alright. Let me know in the comments below if you love any of the stuff I mentioned, or if you've got any other recommendations for found family films, books, TV shows. I would love to know, because I love consuming them. They make my heart so happy, so warm. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe, turn my notification bell on so you know when I'm next going to post. All my social media links are linked in the description below. And with that all said and done, I'll see you all in my next video.